It's I fall asleep as well.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, June 13th, 2024. I've asked Member Bishop to give an opening prayer, and afterwards, if you would please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, thank you for the gifts that you've given us, and help guide us in making proper decisions tonight that benefit the community of Morgan. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'd like to welcome everyone out tonight. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Member Little. Second. Second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and I will be voting since there's only 4 in attendance. Declaration of any conflicts of interest with Planning Commission members with any item on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Now the next is the public comment time. We have 2 administrative items. This is the Nettleton Cobble Creek Reservoir and Shadow Creek Development Concept Plan. There's no public hearings for those, so if you wish to make comments on either one of those items, now will be your time. We have a rezone, a legislative item, number 8, the Hickman rezone. That will have its own public hearing, so if you have a comment about that, we'd ask that you wait until that specific public hearing time. So now is your time. You can come forward and you can speak about anything else too that you'd like to address the Planning Commission, not just the agenda items. We're open for public comment. If you come up and state your name.
My name is Stephen Clark, and I live close to the Shadow Creek development property. And in actually reading over the agenda, the only real concern that I wanted to express with Shadow Creek development is that the entire property is being developed supposedly to go for horse owner families, but the concept doesn't provide anywhere to ride except your own property. And I know from my friends and neighbors that currently live in the county, because nearly all of the property in Morgan County is privately owned. If you want to ride your horse, you have to trailer it and haul it somewhere and go for a ride. And so I would really appreciate if the commission would consider asking the developer to expand some green area, possibly to save the natural landscape along East Canyon Creek, delete those lots, create that as green space, enlarge their irrigation reservoir a little bit, possibly put an exercise track around the reservoir. Just make it so that it is more user-friendly, and it will possibly allow us to keep more of the natural landscape habitat we've already lost from Young Street to the end of Sterling Lane. We've already lost all of that property along the creek on the county side. And so I would just appreciate if we could kind of look at maintaining just for the green space itself, but also having lived in the area for many years. The one thing that I do miss is the wildlife that the development of the property disrupts. And so trying to come to a balance where us dinosaurs can live and be happy, and where our new friends can come in and build a life and a home. I know it's tough, but that's my concern, and that's all I wanted to express. Thank you.
Anyone else? Last call? Okay, we'll move on to item number six, Nettleton Cobble Creek Reservoir CUP.
The Nettleton Cobble Creek Reservoir CUP conditional use permit is application number 23.088. It's approximately located 3,000 feet southeast of the Mountain Green Elementary School. The serial number and parcel number of the property in question is included in your staff report. The current zoning of the property is MU 160. Mr. Nettleton has requested approval for a conditional use permit for a reservoir on his property to help serve the water needs of the Cottonwood subdivision to the west. This conditional use permit does not provide any ability to start construction immediately or in the near future. Before any construction would be allowed, there are stipulations that we've added in as our recommendation to require him to submit all state certifications for the reservoir, as well as to go through site plan review, which would look at the construction and design standards for that reservoir, as well as for the water tank that he received a conditional use permit approval for last year. With that, we are recommending the 7 stipulations that are in your staff report, recommending approval with those stipulations. And then we would add that the state certifications and requirements be provided at time of site plan approval or site plan review, and any water shares required to provide for the reservoir and water tank be provided at that time as well. There was a letter from the Mountain Green Secondary Water Company expressing concern, and I understand their concern, but the conditional use permit is for approval of the use, but doesn't constitute any approval for the construction and design. That has not occurred. Staff requested additional information for construction, but was asked to bring this forward to get approval of the CUP before he spent the money to design it and get the certifications required. So the last paragraph of the letter, I would recommend that the Planning Commission, if they make a recommendation of approval to the County Commission, that they include this paragraph. It states, if the county elects to approve the CUP before the state engineer approval and issuance of an order to construct, Mountain Green Secondary Water Company requests the county include conditions that prohibit any construction or grading of the property until the applicant secures the requisite state engineer approval, an order to construct is issued, and a SWIP is in place and a bond for revegetation is posted. We believe this is a minimum requirement to reduce the impact sediment erosion upon Mountain Green Secondary Water Company Cobble Creek Reservoir, which is located to the west. Staff would affirm that we agree with that. So if the Planning Commission were to forward a positive recommendation of approval for the CUP, which again is for the use, not for the design and construction, we would recommend that you add that paragraph as a stipulation. With that, the county engineer is in the audience, and I'll turn the time over to him. He can talk to you a little bit about what we've done and his recommendation as well.
I'm John Biergard, Wasatch Civil Engineering. I'm here tonight representing Mark Miller. Mark's the one that reviewed the plans and provided comments. The plans so far are considered conceptual or preliminary. There's still a lot of work to do to complete the design and comply with the county and state requirements. you have any questions on anything specific, but the reservoirs for storage and to provide pressure to their future system. Secondary water, yes. No, it's secondary water. It's going to be an open reservoir, I think with a liner, and it stores. I can't remember the total volume, but it's just for several days of storage for their system, future system. What's that?
14 acre feet.
14 acre feet. Yeah, it's an acre feet. Yeah.
The tank's the culinary.
Yeah, we're talking secondary water.
Yeah. No, they don't. Any questions for the engineer or for staff?
I don't have any.
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any.
Maybe the applicant can come forward. You understand that last condition that was read?
Yeah, that's perfectly fair.
You're okay with that? What about water rights? Have you secured water rights yet for the reservoir?
We have sufficient water rights to fill that.
Are you in conjunction with the HOA there for Cottonwoods as well?
The water tank was going to be for Cottonwoods Mutual.
That's the intent, yeah. We're still in planning discussion, yeah. So the tank could happen by itself without the water, without the reservoir. The reservoir could happen without the tank. We kind of show them on the site plan because it would, the grading would go together. But if you look at the geotechnical that was submitted, they acknowledged that there was a tank there and that it would work together if we were to build them both, but they could be done independently of each other. If I could just speak a few words about the part. I started this in November. And, we put a pretty good package together. BG Engineering was our engineer, and it's a hole in the ground that holds water. So if it's safe, why? I mean, how much information do you guys really need to see? It can't catch on fire. No one needs to see it. You can't see it. It's in a bowl, so it doesn't affect the community. But if I'm into it for my design costs were about $5,000, and for the reviews that cost me $1,500 just to look at these plans. And we've all agreed we can defer most of the engineering until it's actually right as we're engineering. It's just a hole in the ground that holds water. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. But it was a little bit frustrating going back and forth for minutia over the last 5 months when I thought this original package was very high quality. But if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I guess I do have one quick question. Just curious, is this going to be fed by a spring or runoff, or?
No, it's a regulating reservoir, and the definition of a regulating reservoir is 72 hours of storage. It's mostly to give a pressure head to pump against from reservoirs downhill and from the pipeline that's downhill.
Ray, just out of my own curiosity, who will own this at the end of it?
Right now, it's most likely either Durst Water Company, who owns the water shares, and it's a collaboration with several of our neighbors, or Mountain Green Secondary Water Company. We've made offers to join with them as well, but we'll go either direction.
Thank you.
But generally, it's just serve most the upper zones of the Cottonwood because they need that pressure head.
Debbie, I didn't understand what Josh was talking about. What paragraph is he talking about putting in here?
There was a letter that came in the email. It came today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So any discussion? Commission?
Well, only question, Josh, would it be better to have the HOA, the fencing that it talked about? Is there any HOA fencing requirements? Does it meet it?
No, there's no HOA fencing requirements. There's no HOA on this property. This property is sold and separate to the Cottonwood development. It's located to the east and has a higher elevation. The water's intent is to provide service to those phases of the Cottonwood that can't be served by the current infrastructure.
Okay, so there's no reason to worry about what the fence looks like.
No, I mean, we don't have any design standards for that.
Just as long as it protects from people going and falling into a reservoir and drowning.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, if there's no more questions or discussions, I'm ready for a motion and remember to add the last.
I move and recommend approval of the county commission for the Nettleman Cobble Creek Reservoir CUP application number 23.088, identified as serial numbers 07-005-106-02, parcel ID number 00-0066-8844, located approximately 3,000 feet southeast of the Mountain Green Elementary School in unincorporated county, based on the findings and with the conditions and additional paragraph that Josh read listed in the staff report dated June 13th, 2024.
Okay, I have a motion by member Bishop. Do I have a second? Second by member Little. Any discussion?
Yeah, just a question. I know Josh asked for two different things on this. I see you got the paragraph. He also asked to have state requirements be met, if I understood correctly. We want to add that in. Is that already in the conditions that we will approve?
Do I need to amend my recommendation?
Well, if you want to pick up his his recommendation and say yes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Did you hear the two conditions that did you not want to include it?
No, I said add the paragraph, but I didn't.
He had,
The state.
There were two conditions he asked for.
Yeah, so if you wanted to amend your motion to include that all state certifications are provided at time of site plan review, as well as provide proof of all water shares, just amend your motion to include those.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to amend my motion to include the proof of water shares and the compliance with the state regulations.
Second.
so, or you already seconded, didn't you, just a minute?
Well, I thought you were making another.
No, he just amended it, so I'll go back to
Okay, I'll second.
member Little. Give me a second. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a Shadow Creek Development Concept Plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Application 23.070 is the Shadow Creek Development Concept Plan. This application being a request for approval of a concept plan, 14 lots named in the Shadow Creek Development subdivision, identified by the parcel numbers and serial numbers, again for 2 properties located in your meeting packet tonight, and is located approximately 700 feet north and west of the West Surrey Lane and North Morgan Valley Drive intersection in Milton. The property owner is Stephen Peterson, Madam Chair, and Mr. Peterson's designated an agent who is in the audience tonight to answer questions on behalf of the property owner. The current zoning is RR5 for the entirety of the property. That came from a rezone, I think around May of last year. And the general plan designation was also changed at that time to reflect the equivalent designation in the future land use map, that being Ranch Residential 5. The total acreage being affected is 80.19 acres. And this being a concept plan, the scope and things that staff checks for in the review is much smaller. Again, just for concept plan, we're looking to see that standards for land use can be met in terms of proposed lot sizes and things like that, and then the qualifications that they follow or that they protect the health, safety, and welfare of the county in our review aims to achieve that. Review has been conducted, Madam Chair, and we find that this meets all minimum code requirements for concept plan, and staff recommends approval tonight. Otherwise, Josh and I can answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
I would like to address some of the public comments that were brought up. The county currently does not have any standards that would require a developer to put in trails or horse riding arenas or any of that type of thing on private property that's being divided for subdivision. If the property owner and developer wants to divide their property completely according to the hard zone property of RR5, they are welcome to do that as long as they meet our minimum code requirements, and all the street infrastructure that they're proposing meets our code as well. The current concept plan shows that they meet all of our minimum code requirements, and unfortunately the only way to preserve land is to buy it. So the current Shadow Creek concept plan, I'll reiterate, meets all of our code requirements for a concept plan, and after they receive approval of the concept plan, they will submit for preliminary plat and then the final plat after that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for staff or for the applicant's agent?
Yes. Looking at the content plan on Exhibit D, is that marsh area, is that wetlands, is that area that they can't build in, that's kind of checkered?
No, that's floodplain, and floodplain does not necessarily prohibit construction. There's just additional standards that they'll have to apply to any building envelope that would encroach within that.
If there's no more questions, discussion among the commission, I'm ready for a motion.
I can do this one. Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval of the County Commission for the Shadow Creek Development Concept Plan application number 23.070 for proposed concept plan of 14 single-family lots located approximately 700 feet northwest of the intersection of Surrey Lane and Morgan Valley Drive in Milton, based on the findings of the conditions of the staff report dated June 13, 2024.
I have a motion by member Wilson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by member Little. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item is the Hickman rezone, and this is a legislative item, and there will be a public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Hickman rezone is application 24.028. This application being a request, which is twofold, to amend the county zoning map from the split zone designation, from A20, which is agriculture, to RR1. Sorry, there's no split designation here. And the second request being to amend the future land use map, which does have a split designation of agriculture and rural residential 1 to rural residential completely. The property owner is Mr. Kevin Horn, him and an agent for the application are present in the audience tonight. The project location is at 3200 West Old Highway Road, near the extent of the enterprise area. The acreage being affected is 3.94 acres, and staff has conducted a review of this request and finds that it meets the minimum code requirements spelled out for accomplishing a rezone and a future land use map amendment. For some basic reasons, first, as you can see on the map in front of you, Madam Chair, the property is split on the future land use map with the tunnel zoning present all the way up and down West Old Highway Road and other, like North Morgan Valley Drive, for example, have RR1 along the frontage of West Old Highway Road with agriculture designations to the rear of those properties shown. And with the tunnel zoning ending less than 100 feet away from the subject property, the requested future land use designation is nearby. The requested zoning of RR1 is nearby as well. Not exactly adjacent, no. That's not true. I think it is adjacent. There is a portion of that property just to the east that does have some rural residential split zoning. And lastly, Madam Chair, the request to change both the future land use map and the zoning map don't change the rural character of the area, and maintains the again that long running character. And with that, Josh and I can answer any questions you or the other commissioner members may have. Thank you.
You mentioned the property owner as Horn, but we say it's Hickman rezone, so who is the property owner?
My own profile.
So
For the
Mr.
record,
Hickman
Mr.
is the
Horn,
property
so
owner,
fix it
okay?
up. Kevin Horn is the architect.
Any questions for staff? I do have a concern with the steepness. I don't have a problem extending the tunnel zoning, but it's over 25% and it's Norwood tough. Ground
Drops off.
goes up,
Oh,
straight
goes
up. Straight, it's really steep. You can't build on it for a code. So I don't have a problem with extending the tunnel zoning at all.
That would require the applicant to.
Well, I understand.
Amend it.
I guess my question is, what is your concern, because you can't build on it anyway?
So,
And all RR1.
so what's the purpose of rezoning? The zone is rural residential, means to build homes.
As far as staff is concerned, split zoning is something that I've always tried to avoid in my career. So rezoning a property to completely RR1 would be one less headache I'd have to deal with. But that's just me.
I understand, but in my opinion, it's inappropriate for RR1, the steepness. as well as the soils. But I don't have a problem extending the R1 tunnel zoning. Any questions for staff?
I guess I have a couple. So what is the total acreage there for that parcel?
3.94 acres.
And what is the total frontage?
Sufficient frontage. I can't recall. Yeah, sure. I can make a quick calculation. This map is approximate, so will my measurement be. Approximately, 300-ish feet,
How much is required for R01?
200 feet.
But this isn't a platted subdivision, too. This is a lot,
The Bybee subdivision.
is a Bybee subdivision, yes. It's a legal lot.
I'm not very familiar with this. You're saying it's really steep behind there, in front of it? What are you saying?
Behind, can you go on, maybe Google Earth, we'll do a street view, it's,
If we're not gonna allow any building on it, doesn't really matter what the zoning is.
Yeah, I just don't know what they say, 25% slopes. For some reason, I just have a blurring brain. I can't see it in my head. Is it pretty steep there? Is that what you're saying too?
kind of like,
So what is the
There at
advantage
the-
of reaching?
you know, the off-ramp, there in Peterson, it's kind of like,
Right there.
just an extension of that hill going around.
Okay, now I know where we're at. Gotcha.
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
Well, I was just curious, would it be inappropriate for us to ask their intent of why rezoning?
You can ask, but they are under no obligation to tell you. It's not part of a rezoning application. The only thing that they have to say is we'd like to rezone from X to X, and then provide a legal description as well as the envelopes, and that is it. The only zoning classification we have that would require more is the PC zoning district, and that's not what they're going to.
Anyone? Have any questions for the applicant? Well, at this time, I guess we'll move into a public hearing. So do I have a motion to go in public hearing?
It's a move for me. How to do it.
I have a motion by Member Wilton. Is there a second?
Second, I'll second it.
A second by Member Little. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Unanimous. We're in public hearing. If anyone has anything to say? Motion, there is none, so motion to go out
Move we go out of public hearing.
by Member Little, go out, and a second by Member Bishop. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Okay. discussion among the planning commission? Yep.
So educate me, Debbie, in your mind, what are they asking for here? Because I'm drawing a blank on it.
They want to rezone.
I know for tunnel zoning, but what in your mind, what would the purpose be of it?
I have no
So
idea.
while you may not have questions for the applicant, it might be good to give them a chance to speak if they want to talk to it.
Does the applicant or their agent wish to speak? Will you please state your name for the record?
Yes, Kevin Horn, the applicant on record. So, well, one of the things we want to accomplish with this lot is to just clean things up. Right now, it's a non-compliant lot, and that may or may not mean anything to you now, but it is because the minimum is 20 or 40 acres. I thought it was 40, but it was 20. Okay, minimum lot. So non-compliant lot, and then of course to have multiple zonings on the lot. So we do want to clean up the lot as far as the zoning and things go. Will there be future there? Well, there may be future around it. There may be some things that the county that aren't in place now that would be a little bit messy. So it seems to make a lot of sense to make it comply with the zoning that it's in.
So what's the advantage of extending tunnel zoning without the other side?
If they're concerned, again, it's a platted lot in a subdivision, so it's a perfectly legal lot. If they say, since they don't have 20 acres and they're in A20, they want to make it conforming, tunnel zoning would bring it into conformity because you'd have the 1 acre zoning in the front. The planner does not like split zone lots. We can appreciate that. I don't have heartburn either way, but the steepness in the soils concerns me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with this.
Well, yes, I'm okay with it. I think it's consistent
With the area,
with the
yes.
area. So, give them the same property rights as their neighbors. So, whatever they want to do.
So you're saying extend the
Yeah.
Or rezone the whole piece. Well, they're requesting to rezone the whole parcel. That's their
You would
request.
we'd get rid of the tunnel zoning effectively by rezoning it R1 or R1.
There's no tunnel zoning on there now.
Okay.
They're solid A20. And they wish to rezone the whole parcel to RR1.
Ready for motions?
I am, if Jeremy can get the motion up.
Madam Chair, I move we move forward the positive recommendation to the County Commission for the Hickman rezone application number 24.028, changing 3.94 acres from A20 to RR1 and amending the future land use map from a split designation of agricultural and rural or rural residential 1 to just rural residential, completely based on the findings listed in the staff report dated June 13th, 2024.
I have a motion by Member Bishop. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Member Little. Any discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? have a tie, so the motion fails. 2-2.
Oh,
We have another motion. Or maybe some persuasion.
Based on the information I have, I don't see a reason why I would change my mind. Since I don't have a problem with extending tunnels on it either, but we designated as a error. I struggle with that. But I'd be open to persuasion if you can tell me why. I'd be glad to. Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anything else
Well,
besides.
if I understood correctly, they're saying down the line things would change and it could be a conforming lot. They could do something with it. If I heard them correctly, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, it's not very good. You can't build on anything with 24% slope. Can you mitigate 25% slope with things that can you put in a tough northwards?
Our code outright prohibits development on 25% or greater slope.
I don't see the point.
Like I said, I mean, I just feel like 1 acre lots are surrounding the area. Allow them to do 1 acre lots rather than A20 would probably give them the property rights that would be similar to the rest of the neighbors. I guess that'd be my reason why I'd say it's okay to rezone it.
I would also add that there was nobody that came in opposition.
Josh, forgive me for not having our code memorized. Is there an RR3?
Nope. RR1, RR5, RR10, 820, MU160.
Since we don't have anything that would fit, if we had an RR5, it'd still be non-conforming.
We could do accessory dwelling units, flag lot, right?
Well, yeah, flag lot, but flag lot with steep slopes, you're going to exceed the driveway grade requirement of our code right off the bat, so that probably won't work.
The setbacks
Again-
are different.
Well,
The setbacks would be different if they wanted to put a detached accessory
that's
between A20 and the R1.
That's true. 820 setbacks are prohibitively high. And so the smaller lot you have, the setbacks for the 820 are almost, and they're massively different. So you have 30-foot front yard, 30-foot rear yard. In RR1, I believe you have 15 feet side yard setbacks. He'll bring it up just to verify. But in 820, you have 60-foot side yard setbacks. So,
The buildable lot, if we just were looking at what isn't greater than 25 degrees slope is roughly what size, Jeremy? I don't know if you can do the magic and draw a polygon instead of just a line to measure. Where does the slope start to really go up?
Maybe bring
yeah,
our
there's no way
wonderful
to
map
measure
up.
that from. There's no way to measure that from our zoning map. We don't have contour maps currently. We could bring up the geohazard map, and that would kind of show you the percentage slope that's been calculated using LiDAR data. But
It might be good to bring that up to show
yeah,
Commission the new map we have for geohazards that they've worked on.
So you can see that map before you now. When you're looking at, and here's the Enterprise area and the Peterson area. So you'll see soil types called out. When I zoom in and out, it'll kind of pop up different information. Chair Sessions was talking about the Norwood Tuff, and this is the property address that's near my cursor right now. And the Norwood Tuff you can see in this almost orange color. One thing that, with all of the helpful information that's being presented about slope and soils, there are layers that you can add or take away. And so when you take away information about the soils, you can see the red representing 25% slope and greater. So if we zoom into the property a little more, the red is, well, where you can see on the property. And I can add the soils back. I'll flip back and forth.
Maybe I could ask attorney, as far as it's a platted subdivision lot in a subdivision, they've been using the word non-conforming. Would they be considered non-conforming because they don't meet the current zone? Or if
It's a non-conforming lot based on the zoning. The platting of it created a legal developable lot.
okay,
So it was developable according to the standards, as long as they could develop it according to our code. But the fact that it was subdivided makes it a legal developable lot. So you can't restrict you can't restrict development on there because they have development rights.
so they would have the right for accessory dwelling units and that, even though they are considered non-conforming?
If they can meet our code requirements for it, yeah. I would point out that the structures that are not regulated by our geohazards ordinance are accessory structures that do not have habitation. So barns, sheds, those types of structures that don't have any human comfort or provide habitation are not regulated by the geohazard.
Yes, Steve?
I hate this. With all due respect to the Hickmans, I know they have land. I just don't see the point of redoing this 25% slope. They can already have their buildings that they want. What are you gonna do? Create a lot better.
We're not creating, a law, I don't know.
What I'm saying, close to it. I don't really have strong opinions on it other than I could see it being a problem down the road. Although if it's in our county, we'll decision, we can't do it.
Yeah,
You can't build homes or structures for habitation on slopes that exceed 25%.
So I can't throw this up on a screen anywhere, can I?
There's a bigger screen behind you if you want.
Well, so basically I took Google Earth and was able to see the slope lines of the topo. That space is kind of what is more level, what I've blocked out, and that's an acre. So then the rest is really developable. So the 1 acre zoning is kind of just, I don't think there's anything else we have in our code that would provide a suitable outcome for them. Thank you, whoever's doing that.
Jeremy's doing that.
Are you close to an acre on that as well, Jeremy?
And again,
But
I'm
under-
only
but
guessing
yet-
on the slope. just
Kennel
based on
zoning
the
would
numbers.
produce an acre. The applicant, welcome to talk, yes.
So there are some restrictions that end up coming on the lot. Uses, perhaps, we could explore that a little bit more, but setbacks, if there were any additions or development or anything like that, that's going to create some problems. As far as, we don't have any, we will have survey data showing how much of that, because there's more than that map showed of flat land behind the property. So there's a fair amount more perhaps than what is showing on that document. I'm not saying it goes all the way up to Taylor, of course, but there's a flat backyard in the house, and that didn't really show that on the map. So there's a fair amount of the property that is more usable, and it's limited in the future for that. Whether there's a question on the future value of the property being zoned ag versus being zoned rural residential, maybe another question. It just seems to align the zoning that you've set up for the lot that's been approved would be consistent.
Excuse me, Mr. Horn. You've heard the talk about the tunnel zoning, which is just the R1 along the front,
Right.
and that would not,
I'm not sure how far that
Yeah.
goes, and I know I'm always uncomfortable having multiple zones or spot zones, but it precludes use, or it might allow use that just wouldn't match with what the property really is. All around there, those lots, there's one lot that's a few lots over to the north, I guess. I think that is larger, that meets the zoning. The other lots, the ones across the street and the ones to the, I guess not the south, but to me that feels like south, but I guess it's to the east. I think of the 9 or 10 lots around there, I think 8 of them don't comply with the zoning. So I think it seems like we're just making it more consistent with what exists there.
and you're talking about, you're talking about the flatter ground around the existing home. You said there was more level ground than showed on the map. You're talking maybe around the existing home.
When I saw the red dot, the red, it seems to touch the house.
Yeah, I agree that there's some flatter ground around the house.
And road frontage or frontage is 200 feet for RR1,
Yes.
and it's 300 feet. So they couldn't subdivide it into two narrow lots that go back, and now that they were RR1, have two lots.
No, they could do a flag lot, but
But as Josh was saying, we
the
can
slope
get back there.
is problematic, yes.
Well, that may be where we get into some area that a survey would provide a lot more information. I hate to make a concrete decision based on this aerial data.
What's been flagged anyways is 25%, so they will need geological.
You can't have the road.
In Norwood Tough, yeah, that's,
The geologic hazards ordinance does allow them to challenge the map if they want to produce their own maps. Our geologists would review those and make a determination.
So what does that look like, Debbie, to extend the tunnel or recommend we extend the tunnel?
I don't know if that's not their request.
I know.
It's-
So if that's what you want to forward to the county commission, I would make a recommendation forward a recommendation of denial for the request to rezone it to RR1 in its entirety, but that you would support rezoning rural residential 1 tunnel zoning. That's how I would proceed, if that's your direction.
Before I go to all that effort, are you guys open to any of that, or would you rather just do the other?
I will mention that if the motion to deny fails with a tie, we will take it forward to the county commission with a recommendation of denial. That'll break the tie.
No,
It automatically goes to the county
with
commission.
a tie.
Well, we've already had a motion to approve that failed.
Right.
If
You
the
say a
motion,
second motion.
Yes, if the second
Okay.
motion to deny fails, then we will take it forward with a recommendation of denial in its entirety.
Unless we postpone till we get an odd number, but no, that's, I wouldn't want to do that.
I think, I would be supportive of the tunnel if we want to deny it and recommend the tunnel zoning.
Well, it would give them an option down the road to do more, in my opinion, if we did that. I don't see any place where they could do the building, they could build up there with 25% sold. But I also don't want to slam the door on the legal.
Okay,
The only thing I don't like tunnel zoning. So I'd rather just do a whole lot instead.
so Member Bishop mentioned if they can't build in the 25, you're not increasing the density because they can't build. What's the harm of the RR1 on the whole parcel? Correct?
That's correct. But you denied me anyway.
No, I didn't deny you. I had no comment, but yeah, so that, there's that option if that makes you any more comfortable with,
I will go along with it if that's what you guys think is the right thing to do. I can vote.
Why you want to do the tunnel zoning over just the straight?
Because if you do it this way, then it opens it up for someone could go sell it, or you got to fight from someone else. I don't know. It's just, in my mind, you're legitimizing it as a law. So potential law.
Slope, the upper slopes.
but they're practicing good planning principles.
That's my issue with it. I mean, they're gonna have to deal with that anyway, either way. So. If you guys are.
The tax basis, is it negatively impacting it by changing it to RR1 from A20?
I doubt it.
What would the difference?
If you go along and do what they're asking, then if they, it's none of our business really. You're creating in people's minds that this is a legitimate lot, or it could be a legitimate place to build a house, right? They already own it. If you extend the tunnel zoning, it's still theirs to do with as they see fit under those rules.
You're thinking people would get the impression if the 3.9 acres is RR1, they could put more than one house
No,
on
not
there.
necessarily. I'm saying, how are you gonna put one house on it?
There's already a house.
There's another one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just reading between the lines, but it looks to me like it's gonna go for another house here at some point in time, so. Anyway, if you guys wanna go through
If the
your
other house
motion.
meets code, I mean, it meets the zoning and our code,
Okay, I'm good then. If you guys wanna go that way, I'll go with you.
Well, let's, on the lot right now, they couldn't really put another house in our code, could they? Or it just couldn't be separated and sold.
The detached accessory dwelling unit is part of our code now, and as long as they met minimum code requirements and it was in a place that was less than 25% slope, they could build a detached accessory dwelling unit right now. The 820 zoning, the setbacks though are,
More prohibitive.
they could be. I don't know for sure. I'm not here to design it for them.
But they couldn't sell it. as a
No, the
separate entity.
detached, yeah, the detached accessory
It'd
dwelling
just be
units.
on their property, so,
the flag lot they could, but yeah.
but they couldn't get up, I mean, it would have no value because they couldn't build on the flag lot.
Yeah.
Somebody buy Florida swamp. I don't know, it's a bad one. if we had an RR3, then that'd be simple, but we don't.
Again, that's not their request, though.
I understand that. I mean, I'm just saying that would fit their issue better and our concerns. But we don't have it, so it's not an option.
So you want to remake your motion and I'll go for it.
I'll let you make the whole motion, and then I'll
Well, it's just gonna be the same one you made, so just say,
If we want-
reiterate it and I'll change my vote.
Can we just go that way, or do we need to?
And
make a
I'm
whole new
I'm
motion?
fine with it. Like I just have the heartburn of rezoning steep ground, but like you have pointed out, our code will prohibit building up there anyways, because that with the Norwood Tough and steep slopes, it's very problematic.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd like to resubmit my motion that we forward a positive recommendation to the County Commission for the Hickman rezone application 24.028, changing 3.94 acres from A20 to RR1, amending the future land use map from split designation of agriculture and rural residential 1 to rural residential 1 completely, based on the findings listed in the staff report dated June 13th, 2024.
I have a motion by Member Bishop. Do I have a second?
For
Second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is business staff questions.
We'll just talk about our plan.
Yep,
Recommend it.
yep, if you have any recommendations for staff, now is the time.
Let's- Do I make a motion? Motion that I would make.
Yeah, if you want to discuss, explain what you want to do to the other.
I just think in that flex zoning for Mountain Green, and it'd probably come up in other community, general plans, that we have a tighter control on the type of building or the architectural, standards. thank
Commercial
you,
architecture standards.
for the building. If we really want to keep it, have a homogeneous look or a type of look and feel, then I think we should mandate a certain style.
That's not done in the general plan.
No, he's talking about
Understand
code.
that. Make a recommendation that you would change that in
Code.
code.
I can, if you want to make a motion to direct staff to,
Right. She just told me I should talk about it with the
okay,
commission.
So explain what you
We
want.
have town center design standards
He
already.
just wants to beef them up more. He
Oh,
doesn't
there's
think they're.
the flex commercial and
But we don't have a flex commercial zone.
architectural. Well, we do in Mountain Green. Debbie was nice enough to read us that whole.
No,
thought
that was-
In
process.
the area plan.
that's
but
the
not
area
in
plan, which is
county.
Oh, okay.
attached to the general
So
plan.
In
there's
code-
nothing really there that we
But
could.
we have commercial zones now, and we do have some commercial standards. And whenever we got in that discussion with the storage sheds,
This is just a, when you talk flex zoning, because I was kind of confused at first, it's just the Mountain Green area plan, right? So it doesn't exist anywhere else. This is a recommendation.
it doesn't exist anywhere, no. It's whether we think it's important to beef up
I agree with that.
the
I'm okay
architectural
with that.
standards for commercial, just
Across the board than in
across
any.
the board, any commercial zone.
Well, I mean, you've got like there's a difference to me of like I don't know, getting my car repaired at the collision thing right off of Industrial down the street here,
Okay,
and it's just a metal four-wall building, and that's fine because it's kind of more of an industrial zone area. But in this like flex commercial zone in Mountain Green that was going in last week, the gentleman showed or a couple weeks ago, whenever it was.
That
gentleman-
wasn't a flex commercial zone. We don't have a flex commercial
but it
zone.
was a commercial zone.
It,
Commercial
but
highway.
that's the same property in Mountain
that?
Green. In the map that
The area
the commissioner showed this for the Mountain Green, where he's doing the dog or pet vet slash boarding area, is within that flex zone, is it not?
Whether it is or not, it has commercial highway zoning right now, which has specific design standards in our zoning ordinance. It doesn't matter what's in the area plan if the entitlements that are already there exceed what we're trying to restrict.
Okay. So it was a very nice looking piece of architecture.
It was an, yeah.
What I don't want in that zone is to have that four-sided metal building.
Right
Our-
now, we can't do
Our
that.
code already restricts that.
All right, then I'll shut up.
I'm not saying
can-
it doesn't need to be expanded. I'm just trying to make sure we understand.
We
that-
need to tighten it up anyways.
We can certainly look at it.
Because like the Scotsman's, the metal is,
Yeah.
problematic.
That's true, and Scotsman's came down to, what's the definition of corrugated versus standing seam. Thank you. So I mean, there is some clarification that needs to be done. That's kind of what I've already been directed to do, is to kind of clarify some of that. But that's not to say that there shouldn't be additional design standards put in there. Like our landscape code is so minimal.
But what I don't want to do is prohibit somebody like the body repair place to have a four-sided metal building in an appropriate zone that's kind of industrial.
It's already prohibited though.
Okay. But it's there, so how did it was there beforehand?
This is the city.
Oh, we're in city.
That
Yeah, we
part
don't-
is in the city limits.
We don't regulate the city.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then I mean,
You okay? Your architect, you're talking about the landscape. Do you need direction to address that, or can you address that?
No, I can't address that. I was just pointing out one area of our code that is woefully lacking. Same with the
So,
parking code again.
And parking, the parking one we need to change too.
The yeah.
Setbacks for,
Not just setbacks for parking, but there are so few listed uses in the parking table that it's very difficult for me to tie a specific use to the parking table to actually make a decent calculation. So I'm not saying there aren't things that should be changed, but there are some things we already prohibit, and they should be tightened up. But I just want to make it absolutely clear that the general plan provides no teeth whatsoever.
yeah, my recommendation was for code side
Okay.
of things, not. But because it came up because of what Debbie was reading, is we want to have these nice things in this area because this is a flex commercial that is part
what's
of
the
the Fuse corridor.
gateway, like the gateway to
Right.
Mountain Green. We want it to look nice.
And it is supposed to be a vision for future growth, but it should be a reasonable vision of future growth that kind of incorporates some of what's already existing, and I don't think it does.
So you would like to see potentially more beefed up or more stringent or more defined landscaping?
I'll tell you the extent of our landscaping right now. I can do it in one sentence. All commercial developments are required to provide 15% landscape open space area on their development, 85% of which has to be plant material. Period. That's it.
Plant material, so
Yeah.
bark.
Well, that's dead plant material.
Well, it's plant material.
I haven't accepted that.
You
Nobody's
haven't
defined,
accepted that? Okay.
Nobody's defined plant material as
Yeah.
live.
No, I don't see live there
I
anywhere.
got roots too that we can just throw out there.
Landscaping is supposed to be alive, as far as
Yeah,
I
weeds are plant material.
I was aware.
Dyer's Wood, native flower of Mountain Green.
That there in county flower,
Yeah, it's getting that way.
state flower food too.
So landscaping, approve the architectural design review standards.
Yeah, I can bring something forward and let you look at what other places do.
And then anything else that you see is lacking that we could address now?
The parking setbacks, so we don't have to have conditional use permit every time.
Not just the parking setbacks, but the parking list.
The parking table as well as the setbacks.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we direct staff to explore and develop stricter or more defined architectural design review standards, as well as stronger landscaping definition of what's required for commercial, as well as a more definitive table and direction on what is required for commercial parking,
As well as parking setbacks.
as well as parking setbacks for our code.
I have a motion by member Bishop. Do I have a second?
Did you include architectural standards in that?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'll second.
second by member Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Sorry. Making you do more work.
You write the general plan on the side. Yeah.
Spare time.
Do you have any, what's our agenda next time? What we want to brief us? Oh, again. Okay.
Yeah, there's only one item on the next agenda, and it's the subdivision code changes that incorporate SB 174, which was mandated by the state legislature that we add into our code, which details review criteria. It clears up lot line adjustments, and there's a few other things that it changes completely. It is going to move up review times, or at least that's the intent. But we've already moved those up, so I'm not sure. We're kind of complying with it already, with how fast we try to get things moved through. I'm a firm believer of one bite at the apple, and so that's kind of, it's rare if we do 2 reviews or more.
And so we made sense out of the state.
Yes, it wasn't actually that bad. I think the lot line adjustment really cleaned up the code. It makes, like, for a change in the statute, it, like, made a lot of sense, like, fixing it. So yay them for that. And then the review, speeding up the review, it only applies to single-family homes, 2-family homes,
Yeah, that's most of.
and townhomes. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it isn't that bad. I mean, I think, like Josh said, you're
Yeah.
adhering to it.
My issue with it is it never really talked about plats. It was always plans. So they'll submit plans. And I don't
There's
re-
plats
Oh,
too.
they did mention
You
that?
can submit the final plat with your prelim plat.
Yeah, we currently allow that anyway with small
Yeah.
subdivisions.
So
So
who's the review of, is it going to be all done by staff or for subdivisions?
no, I
No,
think
it's still come?
I want to say that the county commission was going to appoint the planning commission to review subdivisions. That was based on Robert McConnell's comments back in February or
Even
January.
large subdivisions?
I believe so. Yeah.
You'd be the land use authority?
Yes, yeah, with that,
Okay.
it'd still come to you guys.
Okay. Anything else? Next would be motion to approve the minutes of May 23rd, 2024. Have a motion to approve the minutes?
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I have a motion by member Little. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So moved.
Motion by member Little to adjourn.
Second.